Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursday. It's November 16th, 2023. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just put them in the chat window. For those watching on Facebook, just put any questions you've got in the comment field. We'll get those questions answered for you at the end of the presentation. Also, for those on Zoom, if you'd like to connect with everybody else who's on the call, put in your name, what kind of position you're looking for, list 2 or 3 target companies, put in your linked address, your email address, and connect with other people who are on the call today. This is a great way to expand your connections. Just send them a personal note. Saw you today on Effective Resume Thursday. Love to reach out and connect. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. If you see me in person, I always have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. That group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007. And we've got a really interesting program tomorrow coming up, and I'll tell you about that at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the Practice Interview Team, also known as the PIT Crew. Remember, very important point, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, they're not going to get you a job. All they get you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So if you need to, just for more information, reach out to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com or dallaspitcrew.com, and you can get more information as far as what they're offering. All right, well, our speaker today is Elizabeth Lyons. She's a talent acquisition and enterprise technology. She's been in fintech, banking, financial world, and she's going to talk about resume trends in 2023. This is a pre-recorded session, so we'll be sure to answer any questions you've got. We'll get those answered for you at the end of this session.
So what we're going to talk about today is resume trends. Believe it or not, resumes have trends in them, just like your hairstyle or your car or your clothes. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And if you caught my last presentation here or some of the other presentations I've done the last couple months, I always give an economic update. And I'm going to review some of that because, believe it or not, it's changed since the very last time that I spoke here. So I want to go through that. And then I want to talk about what the resume trends are, what employers are looking for, because that's going to tie back to your resume again. And then at the very end, I'm going to leave you some tools, some really cool tools for you that will help you and assist you in the job search. So let's roll right into this. So my name is Elizabeth Lyons. I'm the author of 3 books. The first one was called Recession Proof Yourself, and I launched that probably about the same time that Jeff launched his website. The second book is called I Quit, Working for You Isn't Working for Me. And then the third book was a leadership book called Unapologetic Women Leading in Corporate America. I thought I wrote a book about women's leadership. Apparently, I wrote a book about leadership. There's been quite a few executive men that have bought the book, endorsed it, gave it to other people. So apparently I wrote a book for everybody. So that's pretty cool. Why I'm qualified to do this work. I am in talent acquisition. I've been in talent acquisition well over 20 years, believe it or not. And I've read a lot of resumes and had a lot of interviews. And so I think what makes me really different than some of the other job coaches out there is I've been in the trenches. I'm still in the trenches. So for example, yesterday I had a conversation with a hiring manager and we were going through 2 of the last finalists. And so I'm privy to, of the 5 candidates that I chose, packaged and sent them over. Of those 5, we boiled it down to 2. Of those 2, why are they going forward? Why are they not going forward? And getting real-time feedback. And interestingly enough, as the job market changes, trends change in hiring as well. And so I'm real time in that industry and in that process. And then I coach to the game. I wanted to dive right into the economy recap. And, this is the reason I go into the economy, because when we're in search, we're very focused in our search and getting our compensation back or getting another job or what have you. And that's great, but I think it's important to understand what's going on around you and to do even a little SWOT analysis, right? So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, what's going on around me during this job search? What are the advantages that I can really leverage? What are the things that might slow down my job search or inhibit my job search? The thing that I've been hearing the last 3 or 4 weeks is the jobs posted have slowed down at the manager, director, vice president level, particularly in the director level, all skill sets across the board. There seems to be less postings there, which I think was an interesting piece that I came across. And that was just through networking and feedback that people I knew that were in search, whether they were employed or unemployed. But going to the economy, this is an interesting piece. And when I was writing this presentation, the first thing I thought was, well, rather than pull the numbers today, what's happened? What happened fourth quarter of last year? So usually it slows down, right? In the fall and in the winter, it didn't. So in November, the unemployment was 3.7. There was a Fed hike, and I think that's worth looking at, and I'll get to that in a minute. The jobs added were 263,000. And then the caveat to that is always like, well, the unemployment's low, but where are the jobs, right? Where are they really hiring? Because if you're in high tech or in, say, the payment space or in certain spaces, you might not be feeling that increase at all, right? You might feel like, well, I don't know how they added 263,000 jobs because I'm not seeing those postings. They actually hit in professional services, transportation, warehouse, and hospitality. So that was interesting where the jobs fell. In December of 2022, again, strong market, 3.5, 233,000 jobs. This is in December. Like, this is all the people that didn't take their job search off. Think about this. And then the increase was in healthcare and construction. There was a Fed hike there. And in January 2023, no Fed hike. I just checked this a few minutes before I joined this call. I don't see any. They're talking about it again in February. Unemployment in January, I know I'm bouncing around here a little bit, so you have to keep up. Unemployment in January is 3.4. Now, remember, this is the time when we're all reading on LinkedIn, oh, tech is taking a bath. Google's laying off. Amazon's laying off. Meta's shedding people. It's all a mess. Well, then they looked at the numbers and it's like, gee whiz, I guess it wasn't a mess because we hired 500,000 people in January. And the unemployment dropped again. Now, they were in leisure and hospitality. Granted, people are going back on vacation, spending money, definitely moving around and about, but that's still quite a bit of jobs that were added. When I looked again, see if I can grab it quick, unemployment was again low and strong. In February, 3.6, and we had 311,000 jobs added. They were mostly added in leisure and hospitality again, retail, trade, government, and healthcare. So again, we're seeing a pretty strong, robust economy still. And the Fed hikes are another slide and another topic, but I think my point here is careful what you read and careful where you get your sources. I was on one presentation a few months ago with some engineers, and I said, the irony is you think you're grabbing a viable statistic, but what you really grab was off of, CNN or Fox or what have you. You really want to get your data around the unemployment market from the BLS or from ADP is an excellent source for these sorts of things. So this is going to impact your search, right? Where are you looking? What industries are you looking? The market still seems strong despite of what you're seeing in the headlines. So the big question with everybody's job search and everybody's resume is recession or no recession? Are we having one? Or are we not having one? Every week, somebody says something different. 2 weeks ago, they thought all the banks were going to crash, bang, and fail. That's not happening either. So there's all this discussion around that and discussion around the Fed rates. I don't think they know. I certainly don't know. if I was in a job search, I wouldn't put a lot into this. I think, again, these are good data points to know that they're out there, but when it comes to you and your skill set, I'm still pretty confident you're going to find something. If it was end of the year, October, and the unemployment numbers were higher, then I would have a different message here. But overall, it's still a great time to look. Seems like we're in a good place. I like to put this slide in because I like to leave people with a positive note, and it's true. Business opportunities are like buses. There's one coming along every few minutes. I had a young man who has a visa issue connect with me, and he said, will you help me with my job search? And I said, because you have a visa issue, that's going to be your biggest issue, and I can't really help you. And it was interesting. He wrote back and he said, I'm a very hard worker. I'm a go-getter. And if I could just still have a few minutes with you, I would appreciate it. So I picked up the phone and called him, and I said, you've got a point there. We're not looking for 100 jobs. We're looking for one job that will sponsor you. And to kind of keep that in mind, you're looking for one job. You're not looking for a pile of opportunities. You're looking for one good one. And certainly there's got to be one in there for you. I had another individual call me on Monday, and she was very focused in her layoff and how all these other people were getting jobs and landing, and she wasn't. And she was so focused on that, she would actually look not only at them landing the job in LinkedIn, but then she would like drill down and see where they landed and all the fanfare around them. And so it left her with this big feeling of, well, where is my job? And it left her with this huge sense of competition. And my strong message to her was, your resume is fine. Your skill set is great. Your problem is what's going on in your mind. And you really need to clean that up, because if you're thinking everybody else has a piece of pie and you don't have a piece of pie, that's really your main obstacle here, because there really isn't any other problem. And so I want to say that as well, that, maybe the search isn't what it was a year ago, and it shouldn't be. A year ago was crazy. The jobs, the offers, everything was out there. It's not supposed to be like that now. So it's okay that it's slowed down, but understand that there's still a place for you and that you'll find it. So what are employers looking for right now? Like when an employer goes to hire, when they're posting a rec, as an organization, what are they worried about? And what are they tap dancing and showcasing with candidates like yourself? The one thing that you're going to see is the offers and how the offer extended to you might be a little bit different. It might be a little bit more polished. It might be a little bit more crisp. It might, instead of like a quick conversation, hey, we'll email you the offer letter through the tool, they really walk you through benefits. They really walk you through perks. They really walk you through a whole offer and not just base and bonus. So there's a lot of discussion around pay transparency. Every employer out there knows they overpaid for skill sets 12 and 18 months ago. When you see layoffs, what you're really seeing often is right sizing and not a layoff. They overhired and they overpaid. And so now they're really trying to figure out, even with inflation, even with what's going on in our country, all of it, right? The gas prices, all of it. What does the skill set really bear? And how much did we overpay? So companies, big, small, medium size, are really starting to dig into their compensation at this point. Retention has become still a hot topic. You don't see a lot of it in the headlines, but there's still a lot of emphasis around retention in terms of talking to people, understanding their career path, leaders making time to have those discussions with their direct reports. They said the trend would be that you'll start to see spot bonuses. So let's say somebody's there 10 years, they might just all of a sudden give them a quick spot bonus and thank them for their time and their tenure for no particular reason, not even tied to performance necessarily, really just to retain them. And that's still a focus point for all employers. Upskilling. When they pulled a report out of Amazon, 92% of employees plan to upskill. Upskilling could be getting a certification, it could be taking an extra class, it could be cross-training. People are really interested in upskilling. I just read yesterday that with the layoffs in tech, MBAs and schools that have MBAs are way, way up. They are pushing MBAs and people are going through school to get their MBAs now. Healthcare is a hot button right now with employers. There's a lot of laws that are hitting the books across the country that are forcing employers to look at mental health benefits, look at things like parental leave, paternity leave, all sorts of things that could have been nice to have in a company. Now the laws are forcing them to re-examine what they're offering within healthcare, and also from a liability standpoint. If they didn't offer these things, what is their risk? So maybe they want to offer something more than just your general EAP. And 6 sessions, call this hotline if you have a problem, and they'll give you a counselor or refer you or what have you. So the healthcare piece, all of the companies are really looking at. Compensation and benefits are the major hot topics for 2023. That's what's on their mind as they're coming to you with offers. So let's dive into resume trends, what's hot, what's not. So I also want to preface the slide by saying I was with a company I coached, but I'm also with a company full time. I was with one for 11 years. I left there, took another job. I was there for 15 months. I left there and landed another one. So I personally have been out on the market, not once, but twice recently. And I can tell you, fact, this works because I had to do this myself. There is nothing like writing a resume after 11 years. There's just nothing. And I do this for a living, right? You would think, oh, I would be nervous about it, but I was, and it was very intense for me. So what's hot, short and sweet, very easy to read formats. Hybrid formats with skills highlighted. So I call them hybrid resumes in that sometimes your picture is up at the top left, or maybe it's a box that's colored and your skills are all listed there, any awards, your contact information, your names, all kind of left in a box. And then in the body of the actual resume, it's a lot of white space. It's very few bullet points. Every word matters. And it's just this clean, crisp. What it is not is a Word document and 0.10 font with objective at the top, a summary of skills after that, and then rolling into your resume with the company name, date, and then your title, and then 10 bullet points. We're not seeing those anymore. Part of what's driving that is the reader. You've got a lot of Gen Y people now that are seasoned enough in HR and recruiting that are reading those resumes. They think in 140 characters in Twitter. Look at Instagram. Why do they love Instagram? Clean, crisp, bright, inviting kinds of images. We're finding that the resumes kind of capture that same sort of look. Canva, C-A-N-V-A, is a program that could help you to actually write a resume like that. Now, in my case, personally, I had my 0.10 font Word resume, 3 pages, and then I had this Canva resume. And I will tell you, I got calls within 24 hours on my Canva resume quicker than I did on my Word resume. And so I found that I was the guinea pig, and I find that to be very interesting. So the resumes are also very simple. I think even when you're senior level, I'm definitely a senior level person. We agonize over how many words and really trying to articulate what we did. And it's just not what's happening out there. There are very short, punchy words that explain what you did with the accomplishment. What's not hot is cover letters. I haven't seen a cover letter attached with a resume in probably 3 years of recruiting. Long lists of career progression, resumes that are anything longer than 3 pages. I don't see them anymore. Lots of words. I don't see it anymore. It's typically short and sweet, even in arenas like high tech, audit, accounting. I'm still not seeing these long resume sort of things. They're not read and they're not written as much as what I'm finding. So you want your resume to really kind of get in there and get out and really explain what you have to offer and what you have to showcase. So let's talk about that. What do you have to offer and what do you have to showcase? So what are they looking for? Well, companies, they're right sizing, but some of them are still driving that growth. Some are going through growth, or they're going through what you'll hear in the interviews is transformation. Our company's going through a transformation. Well, what does that mean? That means a lot of change all across the organization from processes to software to tools to platforms, anything from, we're doing an IT transformation. We're moving from Skype to Teams, where we're going to implement Workday as our HRIS. We're going to implement these processes to hire people. We're going to implement a new approval process. All of that, if there's lots of it and it's at a large organizational level, then they start to talk about transformation. So think about that. Maybe your company just went through one of these. That would be really helpful for them to know about you on the resume, because they're going to realize that you can handle change and that you're not afraid of that. Maybe you've even helped drive some of that transformation. Maybe the software that they just implemented a year ago, very solidly. That might be something to put as a bullet point on your resume. Really show how you can help them through a transformation or help them through a growth spurt if your industry did that during the pandemic. If you were a leader, manager level or above, and you had people under you, what was your retaining score in 2021, 2022? How did you get people to stay on your team? How did you really be the example of leadership? How did you pull your team together? Do you remember when we were locked down and everything was a Zoom? Did you check in with your team once a week and just, ask them, hey, how are you doing? How did you do that? So if your retaining is really great and you were a leader, you definitely want that bullet point on your resume. And then anything that's hot, right? What's hot? AI's hot, big data's hot, cyber's hot. If you worked even tangentially with those teams, get that on the resume. That's going to make you a different kind of candidate, and that's definitely going to draw attention to you. These are the things that kind of get you calls, right? There's the yes pile, the no pile, and then there's the I'm going to call. This is the top 3 I'm going to call. These are things that they're thinking about, but now you've really brought it out into attention in the resume, you're going to get that call. So the summary that I would say overall in the year, still a great time to find a job in 2023. Increases, they're just not as great as they were a year ago or 18 months ago. What I do see is people leaving jobs and taking lateral moves, which is probably necessary because of inflation and because of the other things going on in the economy. The whole word recession is still on the table for this year. What happened with Silicon Valley Bank is definitely factored into the equation when we're starting to look at rate hikes. So where rate hikes, I just read an article in February, and honestly, that's not what they're starting to talk about now because of that bank, because that bank was tied to bonds and it wasn't managed well. Like nothing comes from nothing. It doesn't mean all the banks are failing. And I heard a couple of people say that to me, and I'm like, because you don't understand anything about the system or how it works. They really truly are isolated incidents. But all those things, the Fed hikes, the banks, all that can factor a little bit into the search to some extent. Employers pull back, employers go forward with positions, employers post positions and then wait. So there may be a little bit about that. Recession, like I said, that's still on the table for this year, but when, we don't really know. But regardless, across the board, companies are still definitely looking for certain skills. So be creative in your resumes. Make sure that you're able to articulate why they would hire you in about 3 bullet points. So in your interviews, be very clear and crisp, why you? And that's also going to help you to be remembered. And it's going to help you to make sure that you're showcasing what you want to and not getting in the rabbit hole of conversations and interviews. And then lastly, I wanted to leave you this. This is what's hot in the market right now. I think we've all heard of Chat GPT right now. So that's kind of hot out there when it comes to interview questions. It can help job seekers with interview questions. I haven't played with it much, but you might consider that. LinkedIn Career Explorer, that's another great place to kind of check out. What I've found unequivocally in the last 3 months, everything is on LinkedIn. You buy premium, it unlocks all the jobs, and that's where you're going to spend most of the time in your search. Where 5 years ago, you were on LinkedIn, you were on Simply Hired, you were on Indeed, then you might be on some niche sites. Everything now is really kind of on LinkedIn. Some of the very, very large companies, sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. So it's also not a bad idea to have those large companies written down and just go right into their website, run a search and see if there's a job under your skill set, set up an alert, and that be another way so that you don't miss an opportunity. And then ReadWordify, that looked like a pretty cool tool. It was a tool that helps you insert a job posting, and then it'll help you find the most relevant keywords and see if you're matching to that posting, your resume to your posting. So that might be something cool to look at. There's been other tools like this, but this seemed like highly recommended and something that you might want to check out. And then this is a copy of my book, Working for You Isn't Working for Me. You know what, Jeff, if you're comfortable with it, and if I can make it work from a technology standpoint, I can quick flash my resume that I did in Canva. It's not about the audience reading it. It's just seeing that format and seeing, oh yeah, now I understand what an employer is looking for. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because that was two of the questions. One question was, Neil says, when you say a lot of words are out, what should we do with the summary, intro, and core skills section?
Okay. All right. Hang on. Let me see if I can quickly, because I wrote two of them, and I just think the thing I'm really learning about life is a picture is 1,000 words. Like, I can explain it all day long and do a good job, but I think it's really about being able to see what I'm talking about with my resume.
You know, Kathy asked, how are we supposed to use Canva? How do we make it, you know, how do we make a resume a graphic? So yeah,
there's templates in there. So I would just say, and I'm not the person at all. So I would just go to that program and it will walk you through and you can play with that. Hang on, let me.
Well, I'm familiar with Canva, but I use it to do graphics. So are you telling me I'm making my resume into a graphic?
There should be a graphic, there should be a template just for resumes in there.
And it becomes
what I found.
It becomes a graphic when I'm finished with it?
No, it would still be a document that you attach.
Okay.
It's not, yeah, I think I don't, my husband's a graphic person and he'll ask me questions like this and I don't know. No, you can attach it. It's not a picture format. I think that I'm answering you correctly.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. All right. Right now we're seeing the PowerPoint.
Yeah. Hang on.
Okay.
What I want to do is make you guys small so I can see my desktop and grab it.
Hey, we already feel pretty small.
Hang on, let me stop video. What are some of the other questions in the chat while I'm
Let's see, another question was, I thought one bank threatened to fire employees who were using ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's all, any large bank, they've banned it. You can't access it. You can't get to it. All of the banks. So, and it's always the big four. So it starts with JP Morgan Chase, then it goes to Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank. All of those, you can't even access that.
Okay. And then I guess another question was, a Canva resume, can it go through an ATS system?
Yes, I already answered that. Yep.
Okay.
All right, hang on. Okay, don't read, don't zero in. I just want you to look at this. Photo.
So which resume is this?
Mine. That's out of Canva. This is me in search. This is not a Word document. Just, I'm going fast. You see what the point here is? A lot of white space. Everything is left justified. I got a picture of myself, phone number, email. Here's your summary. Somebody goes, where does that go? I put it here on the left. This is about me. These are the projects that I did. We're back up here. This rolls right into work experience. Then I spelled it right out. Title in bold. What did I do? What my specialties are, my awards, enterprise projects. So you get the point. This was done in Canva, and this is high.
So
You don't have to put a photo if you don't want, and sometimes for diversity reasons, they don't want it, right? But I've seen people put logos here or, you know, something else here.
So you're saying, you know, trends for 2023 is that putting your picture on your resume is okay?
Yeah, you can. I mean, everything is about diversity. I mean, you have to fill a box at the end and they ask you to disclose. In some organizations, they're counting that very heavily. It's a point. Literally, in the back end of the rack, I can tell if I have a diverse slate or not. And if I don't, I have to look for additional candidates. So they're really sticking to that. Although, you know, by the name Elizabeth, it's a female. So that's going to check that diversity box right there. You can do this. You don't have to. I'm comfortable with it. So I threw it up in there, and it also just gave warmth. That's why I did it. You don't have to, you know, you certainly don't have to do that at all. But I can tell you, when I sent this versus the Word resume, I got calls within 24 hours. So even if you didn't have the picture, it's the format.
So is this a bit more like a one-page bio, but just an expanded one-page bio?
Yeah. Do you remember back in the day, they would have executive summaries, or we used to call them executive one sheets? Yes, they mimic this. And honestly, I actually have too many words on here. It's actually too much, but it drove it home. Yeah, it's exactly like that. I've seen people's resumes with like this and 4 bullets, and they roll into the next.
So Neil says, I put a picture when I was in my 20s, but I'm now in my 40s. I'm worried about ageism.
Well, I always answer this question the same way. For 25 years, I've answered the question the same way. When you're 20 something, you're actually applying to mid-level roles. What does that mean? You're applying to roles that are, you know, 5 years experience, 5 to 7 years experience. When you're 40 something, you're applying to roles that say minimum 10 years plus experience, right? And so there is no ageism. It's based off of your experience and your skill set. You're not competing with the 25-year-old guy ever. Now, you don't like how you look, or what, you got some other thing going on, and you don't, then that's what it really is, because it's not ageism. You're not competing with them. They're not competing with you.
Okay. And when they see you in person, they're going to know how old you are. I mean, you can't really hide that.
Well, they're going to see that on LinkedIn anyway. And I don't know, maybe that's more about, you know, we want to be interview ready, you know, polished or whatever. Maybe it's more like that. But the other thing too is if you have ageism in your mind a lot, you will experience that. You know, I said to a client on Monday, I said, you know, people don't understand this, but this is the next new trend. Your brain, you are a virtual reality machine. And it's like you put on these glasses and you're going out in the world. And so if you have glasses that say ageism, that's what you attract. That's what you're going to get. Guaranteed. It's like the woman who is in search and she's looking every day that lands a job, but she doesn't. She's just going to keep experiencing that. You know, you're just going to keep experiencing that. So I wouldn't put, if you don't start believing there's a place for you and your skill set has value, you either need to get different skills or I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's especially now, the market can be more forgiving around diversity, and they couldn't be more. So you don't want to put a photo out there, that's fine. But and if you don't look like you did in your 20s, then that's okay too. But like, you're looking at that. Nobody's looking at that. Nobody's looking at that.
I know you may have mentioned this, but how many pages, I mean, what are you seeing trends as far as resume pages nowadays?
3 is really too long. I mean, I'll read it but I don't read all of it. I'm skipping to the bottom because I'm really interested in, sometimes down the bottom, they'll put interests, or even education I don't look at so much, but sometimes they'll put something really interesting at the bottom. Maybe it's an industry that they're interested in. Or I remember years ago, I read there was a man that actually was going back to Afghanistan, and he actually opened up a children's school. And I thought that was super interesting in his resume. Or clubs or activities, or, you know, just some conversational point that, and a tech resume, maybe they built an app, you know, maybe they, you know, they're doing something cool. Then I want to know about that. So typically it's 2, definitely not more than 3.
I knew somebody once at the bottom of the resume put "in search of the perfect hamburger." And that just became he said, I got more phone calls. They didn't want to hire me, but they just wanted to tell me where the best hamburger was.
Yeah, but that's cool. You know what I mean? It's in LinkedIn too, like when you see people's headlines, they say interesting things. That was a trend that started a couple of years ago. You don't see it as much, but like mine is like that. So I'll say like Starbucks junkie. I think my parting line is like eternal optimist, stock market junkie, heavy Starbucks drinker. And anybody that knows me and worked with me a year, they would say that about me. So yeah, it's the same sort of thing. It's interesting, it's catchy. It's really not stiff anymore. It's not all this professional button down anymore. It's much more casual conversation, but professional. Like in my industry and fintech and banking and financial, there's still this like polish, and there's this little bit of, I wouldn't quite say air, but there's this just like, it's business casual, heavy on business. But I know the other industries really much more casual, conversational. Interviews you're going to find are much more conversational, like much more, who are you? What do you like to do? And, you know, maybe be ready for that. You know, I said to somebody on the phone yesterday, it was a coaching session. I said, what do you like to do for fun? And he wasn't ready for that. You know, he wasn't ready to answer that. So be ready for that. They may ask you things like that, not personal, like how many kids do you have or how old are you, but just conversational, like what do you like to do outside of work, kind of thing.
For just going a little more detail, for the bullet points that you got on your resume, you still want to see results, right? You just don't want to read like a job description. You want it to go, here's what I did to succeed at what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do like that. I think I have, so how I did it was I started to really think about the reader, and I kind of dummied it down. And so I wrote like what I did. And then I had another piece where I said what I'm proud of. And then that's how I handle that, because that also reminds me, that's what I want to talk about in the interview. So one of the things I was proud of was I was on a big diversity team before it was trendy. You know, and it was cool. And I was really proud of that work. And, you know, I had a day job, but I was on this like special project. And so that's like under, like, what am I proud of? So like friend to friend, don't put the stuff that you did that you're not proud of. Like we all get shoved on that project, or we have this other stuff we do. Don't put it under what you're proud of, or even a bullet point, frankly, because you don't want to talk about that. Don't highlight it. You know, don't. If you're proud of your retention scores, if you're proud of, you know, something that's hot, like, hey, I'm really proud of like my work impacted the cybersecurity team. Yeah, put that on there.
So taking what you've done for your resume, how have you modified your LinkedIn profile? Or is your LinkedIn profile more robust, less robust?
Less.
The same?
Less, because I love what you said in the beginning. It's just to get you the call. If you put too much on there, they're going to read it word for word and they're going to make a judgment. And so I control that conversation. I don't want them coming to a conclusion. So LinkedIn's that I write for clients, and when I rewrote mine, you know, really company name, title, no bullet points, on to the next one. There was some meat and potatoes in about, and some meat and potatoes in projects, because that was what I was proud of. But nothing. You're gonna have to call me and ask me for the resume or show some interest. Things you do want on the LinkedIn, if you have certifications, I have my PHR. That is Elizabeth Lyons, comma, PHR. Put it after your name at the top. Put it in the about section as well. I don't care if you have 4 of them. Don't feel like, oh, it's too much, it looks dumb. Put it on there.
Right, right. If anybody else has any questions, you're welcome to unmute your mic, ask away. Questions? Let's see here, James.
Well, yeah, this is Richard.
Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah. So when I look at that format on Canva, what I've read and talked to people about in the past is that won't go through an ATS system well because of the
It
coloring.
does. I
the
got
bolding.
calls for
format.
2 years.
It's,
You
yeah,
said
okay.
it right. What you said in the past, I'm telling you, it does. Because 99% of the ATSs now are Workday. And Workday, it accepts it. Now, if you're on something, even when I applied to an ISIMS ATS, it went through.
And does it automatically populate the fields?
Yeah, it read fine.
What about Taleo?
I don't know. And they won't be on Taleo long, so. I mean, Workday has the NASCAR car. They had a big spot in the Super Bowl. Forget it. If they're on Taleo, I don't even know if you want to work there, man. They're not even.
I know, I'm getting all my emails from Workday also from these banks.
That's right. Because it's really easy. It's user friendly. It's phenomenal for job seekers. They can configure it. They can configure it right down, again, like I said, to diversity. Like I work on Rex and it tells me if 80% I have a diverse slate or not. And if I don't, I have to go find diverse candidates to complete the slate. That's how deeply Workday can be configured. And then the approval process. So I don't know about Taleo or Brass Ring, but I don't know if you want to work there because if they don't have that tool, man, I don't know what else they have. They probably got paper clips and I don't know what else is going on there. So I think it would attach. I would think it would attach.
I mean, I agree. It's a great format, catchy, and you as a recruiter like it.
And
It's
you know,
just- we need several
this is what-
resumes because it doesn't go through certain ATSs.
Well, but this is what I'm telling you. It's not about what I like. I've been in search. I got calls. I'm your proof point. And if you don't like it and you want to argue, don't do it. It's fine. But I can tell you, not one search, but 2. Word this, that got calls. That's hot.
So
When
what
I talk
about
to other
PDF?
people, that's what works.
What about PDFs? I was told recently, again, don't put anything through with a PDF, only use Word.
I don't care. You can do what you want. You just put in PDF because you don't want it. You don't want me to alter it and then send it to the hiring manager. We can see it just fine. It doesn't matter to us. I read 3 of them this morning that were PDFs. I don't care. It's fine. If that's what you want to do. It's fine.
Jane asked, any advice on how to address being overqualified in a resume?
Strip it out. I mean, if you have to decide, like, is that why you're not getting calls or you're worried that's what's not getting you calls to interview? Because Jeff is right. Absolutely. Like your resume or your LinkedIn is just to get you a call. That's it. And if you feel like it's a problem, then you can strip things out of there and dial it back. It's hard to fudge titles because if you're a vice president, but now you would look at a senior manager role for whatever reason, that might be a little hard to explain, but I can tell you the market overall is very forgiving. Everybody on this call knows this, like we went through a pandemic and then people kept their jobs and then everybody left their jobs and found different jobs, maybe once, maybe twice because of work-life balance. Because as a society, what we learned was we will all die and life is short. We learned that. And we all decided collectively as a society in the United States that we weren't going to give everything to an employer. So when you go out, it's forgiving. Like if you go out there and you're like, I'm taking a step down on purpose, you're not penalized now as much. You're not questioned as much. You're not like the candidate that didn't get the job. It happened to me. Like I left a senior manager position with a global team in 4 countries of 22 people and went back to an individual contributor. And I got calls all day long. Now, on my resume, I didn't say I was a senior manager in that moment because I hadn't been there long. So I stripped that out of there and I got all kinds of calls. But in that conversation, I told them right out of the gate, I'm at this, you're going to see this company on my resume. That's the last place I worked. I'm working here. I'm working in this leadership position. I don't want to be there anymore. I want my life. Like, I just want my life. And I'm purposely looking for these kinds of jobs. There's never any question. There was never any doubt. There was never any, oh, she's not a good candidate. She'll just take this and go somewhere else. The market is very forgiving, frankly.
You said cover letters are not in anymore, but I'm still getting applications that are requesting a cover letter.
Yeah, when I apply places, I wasn't asked, and if I was, I wouldn't attach them. I'm telling you, when I was at Fiserv, I had a bench of minimally 25 to 30 recs for years. The last 3 years, I didn't see cover letters attached or put in there. I don't see them where I'm at now.
Will it work against me for not putting one on?
No one will read it. You could put it, you want it, you could put it. But usually that critical information like will relocate or, you know, stuff like that, or US citizen, green card holder, they put it top line on the resume. They don't now add a separate cover letter to address those things.
I may have clarification for y'all on the ATS systems. So I just posted in chat about, I just Googled and said, well, the ATS, you know, if you have the graphics in your resume, what will the ATS do with it? And basically it's going to ignore the graphics and read the text. However, I have an extension background in OCR and converting PDFs into readable text. So back in the day, we've been doing that over 20 years, but if you have text in a graphic, it's much harder for, and I'm speaking of a PDF file, it's much harder for a OCR system to delineate the difference between what is a graphic and what is text. So if you're gonna put text into a PDF file format for a resume, I would recommend, you know, keeping it separate from the graphic that's on your resume. Does that make sense? Especially if there's not a lot of contrast between the two. If you have a lot of text in a graphic in the same box, if you will, on the resume, then it's going to be easier for it to pick it up. But you can refer to the Google comment I posted that came from January of this year.
Look at Workday, not Google. Look like Google Workday, will they accept?
But Workday's not doing it. It's what I'm saying is it's a technology that's being used by these
Okay.
to do it.
Okay.
So we were taking faxes 25 years ago.
Yeah.
For the CIA and for NSA and converting that to text that then went into databases to look for terrorist activity and other things. The technology's been around a long time. It's technology they're using. Microsoft's not doing voice recognition. Nuance does the voice recognition, and it's used by Microsoft and by Ford and by Chevrolet and whoever else. I'm just saying, and that technology is from the same area. But
yeah, no, I can appreciate that.
So I'm just saying that you're okay using. I think where this got off the rails is somewhere along the way somebody said an ATS system, you know, is the graphics going to mess it up? Well, yes and no. It depends on where your text is in relation to the graphics.
Would it also be like this? I'm assuming, or you could answer this better than I could. Like the pixels, like how big that photo is of me. If I shrink it down and then I import it into the document, could that, if it's too large, that photo, the pixels or whatever, could that graphics?
That's not going to bother it. It knows the photo right away.
Okay.
Okay. But if you had a photo with text over the photo in the same, you have a photo with text below it that said maybe what your 3 major traits are or something,
yeah,
your skills, it would be harder for it to distinguish that because it's in with the photo. Whereas if it were below the photo, right? Then it's easier for it to pick up.
Why did mine always go through then?
Well, you
Like
don't have anything
always.
on your photo.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about text on top of the photo.
Oh, okay.
See what I'm
okay.
saying?
Yeah, I do.
You have text below your photo, and you have
Yes.
quite a bit of text in the resume that you posted. So it knows that, okay, this is text, and it's able to
Okay,
convert that. And then you have, PDFs that are a smart PDF that actually has a text layer behind the PDF, which could easily go into the ATS. Am I going too deep?
no. I love
Okay.
technology people. I work with
So-
them every day, all day long. It's helpful.
All right, that's our presentation today. Let me just share a few slides and we will get out of here today. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I didn't see any questions in the chat window. We do have some handouts that are located on the careerusa.org website. If you click on careerusa.org, click on resources, and at the very bottom, video and handouts. What will happen is we've got a sample T cover letter, some sample resumes, sample bio, action words that you can help start your bullet points out with. So all that's available for you to download off the careerusa.org website. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Tomorrow morning, our speaker at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group will be Mac Ostrowski will be with us to talk about the six-step process on how to manage an efficient job search. He wrote a book this summer, and I've seen his presentation, and I thought this is really some really great information. So if you're looking for a real basic thing on how to get your job search going, join us tomorrow. If you live in the DFW area, come join us in person. For those outside the area, join us on Zoom or Facebook Live. We're not going to have any sessions next week. Everybody have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. If you're traveling, be safe. Otherwise, we will be back on the 28th of November with LinkedIn Tuesday again. This session has been recorded. You will be able to see it on the Career DFW Facebook page or the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist and then pick the playlist that you want. In this case, effective resumes. At the very bottom where it says view full playlist, when you click there, up will come a list of all the different dates and topics. This particular one will be up there. It'll be about 2 or 3 hours for YouTube to get it up there and process it. So it'll be up by dinner time tonight. If you'd like to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. You do not need to live in the DFW area to join the Career DFW group. We do have over 15,000 members in the Career DFW LinkedIn group. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, just scan this QR code. It'll start an email and just hit send. You don't have to put anything in it, or just send a blank email to Career USA, +subscribe@groups.io. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day, so you'll know what we're doing every day of the week. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Everybody's a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything we've done over the last 15 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us, and everybody, have a great Thursday, and we hope to see you tomorrow morning.